Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ. So we will continue our discussion on socio-religious reform movements. We started this and we first discussed about Rajaram Mohan Roy, and we have covered Brahmo Samaj and all concepts related to that, the principles and everything, the ideas. Okay, and then we have discussed about Wahhabi movement. So whenever we discussed about socio-religious reform movements, on one side we talk about reformist movement and the other side we talk about revivalist movement. So reformist movement are those movements or people who are ready to or accept the other cultures or willing to change. Okay, and the other one, they always want to go back to the Vedas or go back to 7th century Arab. Okay, like that. Okay, so go back to the old culture. That is their opinion. Revivalist movement, revive the tradition back. Okay, that is their idea. So what we've discussed about one reformist movement among Hindu side, that is Brahmo Samaj, and then we discussed about one revivalist movement from Muslim side, that is Wahhabi movement. So here in this session I'm going to discuss about another reformist movement among the Islamic side or the Muslim side, that is Aligarh movement, and we are going to discuss about the contributions of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and after this we will talk about one revivalist movement from Hindu side, that is Arya Samaj and Dayanand Saraswati. In detail we will see. So here in this session we will be talking about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So let's get started with Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, okay, who was a moderate and he was a pioneer in social reform among Muslims. His approach was totally different from Wahhabis. You have already seen Wahhabis, so here you will see an entirely different approach than Wahhabis. So he is trying to empower women also educationally, politically, economically, and in all walks of life you will see. Okay, so totally different from the Wahhabis. And he himself was a magistrate and he was from Aligarh. He lived in Aligarh. He was born in 1817 in Delhi. So his movement is what we call as or known as Aligarh movement. So Aligarh movement. So if you remember, when we started off with this module, I have told you any social reform movements, before understanding that, or if you understand or if you try to study the contributions of different social reformers, you have to understand the problems in Indian society during 19th century. Then only you will have a complete or objective understanding of that particular social reformer. 19th century India were facing a lot of problems. There are certain general problems and there are some social specific problems. The general problems are related to education, whether it is Islamic system or Muslim education or Hindu education. It was the common problem was it was not updated and it was totally outdated. So Hindu system was not at all updated, perhaps from Gupta period onwards. When it came to Islamic system or Muslim system, when Mughal came, they updated, they came up with a new system, but that was in 13th and 14th century. So here we are in the 19th century. So what was modern in 13th and 14th century is totally outdated during this time. So whether it is Hindu system or Islamic system, there are problems in education. So you'll see efforts from Syed Ahmad Khan's side to improve education, especially among the Muslims. So he always wanted that the Muslims should get quality and very good education, and we will see the efforts of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in that context. Apart from that, there are problems related to gender discrimination. So you'll see here Sir Syed Ahmad Khan is trying to improve the life of women by promoting education to them, economic and political empowerment of women, and all these walks of life. In all walks of life, he is trying to empower women. And the other problem that you can see is related to superstitious beliefs. And then in specific problems, if you see sati among particular caste, upper caste Hindus in northern part of India, child marriage in western part of India, infanticide among the Rajput caste, and all these things are the specific problems. Okay, so here when we discuss about Aligarh movement, mainly we are going to talk about reforms in education. So education is one aspect, especially among Muslims, and then general social reforms. Okay, so this is what we are actually going to discuss. Now his thoughts are very important. His thoughts are basically, Quranic laws must be reinterpreted. Some of the laws which are there in Quran, there is no validity now. It has to be relooked and it has to be reinterpreted. For example, the laws related to polygamy, parda system, etc. So when polygamy was allowed in Islam, it was in 7th century, right? During that time, lots of wars were fought and lot of orphan girls and widow girls or widow women were there, and slavery was also common at that time. So slave women was also there. So in that context, Islam allowed a man to marry more than one, but not more than four. So the reason is to give support to, or to give a life to these slave women or orphan girls or the widow women. But now that is not the case. There is no wars, a peaceful society, men and women are almost equal in numbers also. That time that was not the case. Male population is so less compared to the female population, because most of the male population is actually dying after the war, in the war. Okay, so Islam was struggling at that point of time, so a lot of wars were fought during that time. So Islam allowed a man to marry more than one but not more than four, subject to certain conditions. I'm not getting into the conditions. So polygamy was allowed in this context, but at this time, if you see, there are no wars, no slavery is not there, so there is no need of polygamy at this point of time. So it has to be relooked and reinterpreted. That is one of the thought of but whatever it is, it is practiced in all religion, whether it is banned or not banned, whether it is legal or illegal, it doesn't matter. I'm not getting into the talks about that polygamy, because man by nature is polygamous. Okay, so polygamy is practiced in all area, across the world, across religion, but here it was there in Quran, and that was a law. It has to be reinterpreted. Secondly, the parda system. See, actually it was not originally there in Quran. What is there in Quran is actually hijab. So it was very much misinterpreted, and there is no consensus among Muslims also related to this word hijab. So whether you have to cover your hands or your face or your head or entire body, all those things are actually in a question. So Syed Ahmad argued that you have to relook into these laws which are there in Quran. And secondly, he argued that women should be given education, and he quoted from Quran that Prophet Muhammad's wife and daughters were very highly educated, so you should give education to women. Also, you should give political and economic rights to women. So let me write down these points here. So firstly, Quranic laws must be reinterpreted. I've told you the reason. Okay, now then Muslims should give education to women. Education to women. Prophet wives and daughter were highly educated. That is actually highlighted from Quran. And then give political and economic rights to women. Okay, so keep these thoughts in mind, and we are going to discuss more details about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. In 1867, he founded Mohammedan Scientific Literary Society. So basically to translate the European scientific and literature works into Urdu. So European scientific and literature works into Urdu. Why it is translating? To acquire the young minds of the developments which are happening in the West. So by translating into Urdu, you can teach or train the young boys and girls related to the scientific developments and advancements which are actually happening in the West. Okay, so to translate European scientific and literature works into Urdu, okay, to acquire the young minds, boys and girls, with the developments which are actually happening in the West. He also started publishing a journal, Tahsibul Akhlaq, and still it is published from Aligarh. Okay, so he started publishing a journal, Tahsibul Akhlaq. Okay, what was the purpose? The purpose was to train the young minds with the etiquettes which are given to them by Islam. So etiquette means manners. It's all about the way you eat, how to talk to female, how to talk to public, how you talk outside, and all these things, the manners which are given. Etiquette means manners. Okay, Tahsib means manners, Akhlaq means morality. So Tahsibul Akhlaq, still published from Aligarh. The purpose was to train the young minds. So when I am saying young minds here, it is both boys and girls. So if you remember in Wahhabi movement, when I've discussed, I've talked about Deoband school, which was established at Saharanpur, right, Darul Uloom. okay, in UP. And when the objective I have discussed, I have told you to train the young boys. Okay, so here it is both boys and girls. He's promoting women education also, so with etiquettes given to them by Islamic tradition or Islam, like how to eat and all those things. Now his greatest contribution, if you look into, that is Mohammedan Anglo Oriental College, that is in education. So his greatest contribution is in the field of education. In 1875 in Aligarh, he founded Mohammedan Anglo Oriental College. Okay, so you can see here from the name of the college itself, you'll understand the objective of it. Anglo and Oriental. Anglo means the developments which are actually happening in the West, that means English, and this is Eastern. Okay, so that is this, the values of Eastern society. So he is looking for an organization, he is looking for an educational institution where the developments of West and the values of East are accommodated. Okay, so he wanted an educational institution where both modern scientific knowledge, so scientific knowledge, that is this dimension, and values of East, okay, that is this dimension. Okay, he himself visited Oxford and Cambridge University, and he wanted the same in India. Especially he wanted to give very quality education to the Muslims. Okay, and that's why he established this college. And it was a very difficult task because the traditional Muslims are, they were not ready to accept changes. They are not ready to accept the Western culture or Western ideas or values. And Maulvis and Maulanas actually came up with fatwas against Syed Ahmad Khan, and he faced a lot of hardships, and he worked like a missionary, and he finally he was able to succeed or achieve his dream. And in 1920, this Mohammedan Anglo Oriental College became Aligarh University. And if you see, it is having huge impact on the mindset of Muslims, the education of Muslims. And if you see 1970s, that during that time, most of the Muslim intelligentsia, whether from East or West or South or North, all are the product of Aligarh Muslim University. Okay, so that's the impact or huge importance or significance is there for this university, especially with respect to Muslims. And education is there from primary or the lower level to the higher level, and the students will stay in the campus. He believed in that particular idea that the students should stay in the campus and study. So hostels are also there in the university. So that's about this. Now, if you remember, I've discussed about 1916 Lucknow Pact when we discuss about the freedom struggle. So in Lucknow Pact, I've told you two conditions. It was between Tilak and Jinnah, so Congress and Muslim League. In that, the decision that was taken is Congress and Muslim League is jointly going to take anti-imperialist stand from now onwards. And Congress offered that Congress will support Muslim League's position on joint separate electorate also. Okay, so forget about the second part. First part is what we need to discuss. The Congress and Muslim League is now going to take a joint anti-imperialist stand. Congress anyway already started taking anti-imperialist stand. Let's look into why Muslim League started taking anti-imperialist stand. I've already discussed this anyway, but still here the most important reason is this Mohammedan Anglo Oriental College, one of the most important or long-term demand of Muslim League was to convert this into university, but it was actually not accepted by the government, and later in 1920 only it was converted to Aligarh Muslim University. Okay, so in 1920 it became Aligarh Muslim University. So till then it was a demand from Muslim League. So that is also one of the reason why they took anti-imperialist stand. Apart from that, there are many other reasons also. There is a generational change, from Sir Syed Ahmad Khan time, who was showing loyalty to English, and Muslim League, the beginning, the leaders are also followers of Syed Ahmad Khan and the Aligarh school of thought, and they were also showing loyalty to English in the beginning. There is a reason for that, we'll come to that. And now there is a generational change, so they have decided for the long-term interest of the Muslim, it is better to go for or take an anti-imperialist stand. And one more reason is that they were not happy with the calling off of partition of Bengal in 1911, because Muslim League actually openly supported the British government through Shimla deputation during the time of partition of Bengal, and that actually gave voice to the English to argue that there is second opinion also among yourself, among the Indians. But when the partition was called off, Muslims felt that they are alienated and they are, betrayed. Okay, so because of all this, they have decided to take anti-imperialist stand. Otherwise, Syed Ahmad Khan always followed a loyal outlook towards English. The reason is 1857 revolt. You will see a lot of Muslim Maulvis, Maulanas, etc. participated. Wahhabis were actively participated. So after the revolt, as a long-term strategy, British started taking Muslims as their number one enemy, and they started giving all the important positions, posts in government jobs and the educational opportunities, everything to Hindus, and Muslims denied all these opportunities. So Syed Ahmad Khan always wanted to convince the English that Muslims are also equally loyal to the English as Hindus. Okay, so this effort was there from long time from the side of Syed Ahmad Khan. He tried to convince, and Aligarh school also in the beginning was showing loyal outlook. Muslim League also in the beginning started from Shimla deputation, was showing a loyal outlook till 1916 from the beginning. Okay, see, if you compare it with Congress also in the beginning it was loyal outlook to the British government, then it became anti-imperialist, then it got mass support. Muslim League also the same path. Initially it was loyal to British, then it became anti-imperialist, and later during 1937 election and after that, a lot of mass campaigns, public speeches, a lot of efforts from Jinnah and Muslim League side, it became a mass organization. So here that's about Aligarh Muslim University's major contribution was in education, that is in terms of Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, and that's a university's literary contribution. We have discussed about literary contributions of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. At that time, some of the books and one of the newspaper, when we discussed Miratul Akbar, okay, etc., after Tuhfat al-Muwahidin, etc., I told you should not be confused it with Syed Ahmad Khan. That name Raja Ram Mohan Roy should be there in your mind if it is related to Miratul Akbar, which was in Persian, Tuhfat al-Muwahidin, etc. Okay, so here when we discuss about literary contribution, he changed the style of Urdu prose writing, and he also introduced social and political essay writings on current issues, like in case of Raja Ram Mohan Roy also we have discussed. He criticized Urdu poetry like ghazal, and he promoted or supported nazams. Nazams are based on serious themes and perspectives on and having good content, but ghazal is mostly praising women. Okay, so this is about his contribution, literary contribution, and overall if you look into educational contribution is so high, and he is one among the pioneer of among Muslims in social reforms. So he was a very educated person. He tried to empower women economically, educationally, and politically. His thoughts were totally different. Like he wanted to reinterpret Quranic laws and all these things we have discussed. If you have any doubt in the discussion, you can get in touch with me here. This is my Instagram ID. Join the Telegram channel for all the videos. I've done complete history 1757 to 1947. You'll get all the videos there. Economy also we have done in detail. So see you guys. Thank you.